Heat lost to Orlando on Wednesday night, but that's not important, really, as the story of the day is about Giannis Antetokounmpo reportedly done in Milwaukee West. Could his days with the Bucks really be over?
I think so, but either way, it's never stopped us from putting all of our hopes and dreams onto maybe a Giannis trade.
You are Locked On Heat, your daily Miami Heat podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, welcome to Locked On Heat, your daily podcast on the Miami Heat, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. Whether you're tuning in on YouTube or on your podcast app, thanks so much for making Locked On Heat your first listen every day. Join the Cookie Gang, become an everydayer. That means subscribing, tuning in every day, Monday through Friday, and signing up for the Everydayer Club with the link in the show notes. I'm Wes Goldberg, host of Locked On NBA Daily and Real GM Radio. I'm here with David Ramil. Both of us are credentialed Heat media members who cover this team every day. A ton, and I mean a ton, to get to today. We're going to talk about tonight's loss to the Magic in a second, don't worry. But we do have to start with the big news from this afternoon that Giannis is now open to getting traded, and the Bucks are now open to taking phone calls. This, according to ESPN's Shams Charania, who tweets this afternoon, two-time MVP Giannis Antetokounmpo is ready for a new home at the February 5th NBA trade deadline or in the offseason as several rival teams make aggressive offers to the Milwaukee Bucks for him, and the franchise is starting to listen, league sources tell ESPN. This is a huge story. This is big news, and it's the first real indication after months and months and months of smoke that this thing between Giannis and the Milwaukee Bucks could finally be coming to an end. And David, what I find, of the many things I find interesting, I guess the best place to start is with the timing of this. Just 8 or 9 days before the NBA trade deadline, February 5th, next Thursday, the timing of this. Do you think that the timing of this helps the Heat in terms of trying to get Giannis, who is the whale that they have been waiting so long for?
Yes, in the sense that it kind of fast tracks everything because now you've got a little time in order to get something done. Like this announcement being made public, coming from Giannis's camp, right? I would imagine, probably kind of puts the onus on Milwaukee to get a deal done by the trade deadline, and in that sense, then Milwaukee can't just afford to sit on things and allow things to kind of fester and continue to build, or just be maybe not proactive in trying to get a deal done as quickly as possible. Because I think by this leaking out, Giannis is saying, no, I'm done. I'm ready. Let's get it done. And that kind of helps Miami just as much as it does, I think, more than any other suitor, just because now we kind of at least will have some closure by the time the trade deadline passes, and knowing that, you know what, Giannis is ready to move on, and Miami is definitely one of the teams that's interested in putting an offer together for Antetokounmpo. So I think it is an interesting thing, and I think it also does benefit Miami.
I'm not sure that it is just Giannis's camp leaking it to Shams. This report strikes me as everybody kind of telling Shams that this is what's going on. Because if the Bucks are indeed willing to listen, as Shams reported there, that means that they want to start to drum up a real market for Giannis now. Where before they had been talking this entire time about we're trying to add to Giannis. Now they're saying, okay, guys, all these offers that you guys have been preparing internally, hand them over. Give them to us. Give us a call. We're going to start looking at teams. Now, the other part of this Shams report is there is not a list of destinations. And for the record, this was not a trade demand by Giannis, right? He's just open to doing something new. That's all. Not demanding anything. He's just open to new things. Right. I find the semantics of all of this hilarious. But that said,
he's trying so hard to say the good guy here. And I didn't want to leave, but if a trade demand happens, I'm sorry, if a trade happens or an offer is made, I'm open to it.
Next time he talks, it's such a good break for him to like be out 4 to 6 weeks with this calf strain, because now he doesn't have to talk to the media for a few more weeks. But I just want somebody to be like, okay, I hear you're open to playing for a different team. Are you open to still playing for Milwaukee? And then kind of going from there. But look, jokes aside here, the other part about this report is that among the teams that he might be open to playing for, and this is not a list of preferred destinations, it's all this is, whatever. The Miami Heat, the New York Knicks, the Golden State Warriors, and the and the Minnesota Timberwolves are teams that are expected to aggressively chase now Giannis. Okay, here's what we're gonna. There's so much that we got to get into here. I do think maybe a good way to jump into this, David, is let's just go through what these teams could realistically offer, right? And then we could start. We know that these teams are going to be aggressive, right? Let's start with what they can offer. For Miami, might as well start there. You have 2 first-round picks that you could trade right now, 2030 and 2032. It could be up to 4 if they make another move to unlock, to get a 2027 pick, unlock some other picks. They would also have to adjust the protections on that 2027 pick owed to Charlotte, which is right now top 14 protected. And if it doesn't convey, it goes into 2028. So you'd have to call the Hornets and be like, all right, let's just get rid of the protections so that we can unlock a couple more picks here. But right now they have 2 firsts, 2030 and 2032. And then the young players, right? Kel'el Ware, Jaime Jaquez Jr., Kasparas Jakujonas. Throw Nikola Jovic in there if you want. Whatever. Like, they got a bunch of young players. Terry Rozier is expiring, and then Tyler Hero is probably part of this too. I would expect that any Heat offer starts with the 2 first-round picks, and like a bunch of swaps too. They have 4 swaps that I think that they can move. The 2 first-round picks, Tyler Hero, Kel'el Ware. I think that's the starting, and Terry Rozier's expiring salary. I think that's the starting point for any deal, and then you start negotiating whether swaps are you going to put in there. Can you acquire more first-round picks? How many more young players are you throwing in there, whether it's Jaime or Jakujonas or whoever it is? I think that's where the negotiations begin. What do you think about that offer from the Miami Heat? And would you agree that that's kind of what it looks like?
Yeah, I think so. It seems like a fair deal. It's unfortunate, honestly, but I think that it starts with a young player that you have a lot of potential in Kel'el Ware, and also a player that's been there for a number of seasons with Miami and has been a part of this franchise and has done a lot of work for this team to try and get them to succeed on the court. So feelings aside, though, it does seem like that's probably the basis or the framework for any kind of potential move for a guy like Giannis.
Yeah, I mean, the stuff that they wouldn't move for Kevin Durant, when they wouldn't go in previously for Damian Lillard, this is the whale. Giannis is the whale. He is the guy that you've been saving all of this stuff for. If you're not going to offer it for him, you're not offering it for anybody. So there it is, right? Like this is your moment if you're the Miami Heat. And according to all the reporting around this, is the Heat feel like they're in a good position to potentially get a deal done before the trade deadline. Like, there is a lot of sort of optimism around the Miami Heat, at least from outside the organization, I would say. Or I don't know how many these reports that people have, I don't know how much it's connected actually to the Miami Heat, but there's a lot of people out there saying that the Heat feel like they're in a good position to make a run at Giannis here. Now, I was at the arena. I was talking to a lot of people before tonight's game against the Magic. People seem pretty split on whether or not the Heat are in a strong position or what kind of position they're really in here. I look at this package, and we're going to compare it to some of these other packages. I think it probably has the best balance of stuff. And really what it comes down to at that point is Milwaukee saying, would we prefer to have more of draft picks? Do we want to have more expiring salary? Do we want to have more young players? Like whatever they have. But I think Miami has the best balance of sort of all of those things. The ability at least to kind of hit all of those notes in a real way, as opposed to some of these other offers that are out there. The other one here is worth mentioning, Houston and San Antonio. These are teams that had been talked about as potential Giannis suitors for a long time now. According to Tim McMahon and ESPN, they are not interested in trading for Giannis, at least not at this juncture, not before the trade deadline. And he seems to have real strong reporting on that. I tend to believe him. And it doesn't make much sense, I think, for San Antonio and Houston to make a move for Giannis right now. So we could put them aside. I think we could throw Oklahoma City in that same mix, right? Like to shake up what they've got going on. To go get Giannis just doesn't make a whole lot of sense exactly. So you could put them over there on the side too. There's a bunch of other teams that are going to have offers, but we are going to explore here Golden State's offer. That to me is the one that I think the Heat have to compete with the most. And then there's another team out there, a couple of other teams out there that are lingering as maybe sneaky teams that can get in on Giannis. We'll talk about that next here on Locked On Heat.
Today's episode is brought to you by TurboTax. Tax season doesn't have to just take over your life. This year, TurboTax is making it easier than ever to just hand things off and move on with your day. With TurboTax Full Service, you can have your taxes done for you by a trusted local expert, start to finish, without the stress or guesswork. Instead of spending hours trying to figure out forms, you just meet with a local TurboTax expert in person, or you can even connect with them online. And they handle everything from W-2s to self-employment forms, and they work to get you every possible deduction. You can upload your documents, just go about your day, and get updates right through the TurboTax app. It's a huge time saver, and it gives real peace of mind knowing that an expert is handling it. For a limited time, you can have your taxes done by a local TurboTax expert for just $150, all in, if a TurboTax expert didn't file for you last year. Just file by February 28th. Take taxes off your plate and get back to your life. Visit turbotax.com/local to book your appointment today. We'll be right back.
So let's look at the Warriors' offer.
Mm.
Unlike the Heat, they can include all 4 of their future first-round picks. They control their draft going forward. So they can include 4 first-round picks where Miami can only include 2, plus all the pick swaps. So the Warriors have the ability now to just say, hey, you basically control our draft for the next 7 years. In the immediate term, pairing Giannis and Steph together probably doesn't result in many good draft picks. But the bet, if you're the Bucks, would be, hey, those out years when Steph is probably no longer going to be in the league anymore, that could be potential gold for us, even with Giannis on that team. Like, maybe we don't think that the Warriors are going to be that. That would be the bet that they would be making. And then obviously you need the salary. So the big salary that they'd have to include is Jimmy Butler. And Mike Dunleavy Jr. is already out there saying that they don't want to trade Jimmy Butler. But if it's for Giannis, like this kind of report changes all of those things. Anything you said as a GM previously kind of just goes out the door. It's kaput at this point. Giannis is available. You go and get those guys if you can. So I think it would be probably Jimmy Butler's contract, which matches perfectly with Giannis's. And then another thing that they could do is throw Jonathan Kuminga, Moses Moody, like these guys into the mix and say like, hey, we'll give you Kuminga. We'll take Kuzma back as sort of a tax. We'll give you Moody. We'll take Bobby Portis back. We'll help you get a little bit younger around this stuff. The question then becomes, does Giannis want to play in Golden State? Which playing with Steph, I think is interesting, but does he want to necessarily tie himself to the Steph Curry part of all of this, where I'll have him as a teammate for probably a couple more years here, but then after that, it's just going to be me. And then I do think there's one other big issue here that we could talk about. But before we do that, your just general thoughts on this Warriors offer.
Yeah, I'm kind of loath to look at another scenario, another team, and kind of make any judgment because I'm in this sense, I got burned by the Dame Lillard trade and thinking that Miami was the best destination for him, and it wound up being, ironically, the Bucks. But on the surface, as far as what Golden State's offering there, it seems like a different kind of pivot. It does not, as you said, offer the same kind of balance as Miami's deal. Draft capital, young players, accomplished players, etc. Like Jimmy's certainly an accomplished player, but I don't know that he necessarily wants to be buried in Milwaukee now. That's interesting, I guess. Ironic that it took that turn in his career. I don't know that Milwaukee's going to be satisfied with acquiring that player. Then getting Jonathan Kuminga or Moses Moody or anybody else, that's not really great. But it does offer a lot of more draft capital in that sense if you want to just retool completely. And I don't know that Milwaukee's at that point, but
well, they would be, right? If they trade Giannis, I mean, you got to rebuild the draft at that point. And the good thing about this Golden State package for Milwaukee is the Heat, they can't offer a pick until 2030. This package gets you draft picks right now, ready to go and to use in this draft in 2026, this summer. So if you're the Bucks and you just want to start drafting guys and start biting at the apple, this is the way to do it.
I'm just, how I feel about the draft. I feel like it's such a unlikely scenario there. No, it doesn't seem like a clear path towards rebuilding either. It could just be kind of stuck in perpetuity. Like you might not get that pick. You might not get that right player. Like Golden State is going to be better. So.
Yeah, they'll be better. And we don't know that those out years will be, we don't know how bad the Warriors are going to get.
Right. So I don't know that you could look at whatever Golden State sends back and be like, that's our clear path towards getting that next star. I don't know.
Yeah.
From my perspective, it doesn't seem like an easy decision for Milwaukee to make one way or the other. But yeah,
It is being discussed as maybe the best package by some corners of the internet. Now, I don't know that those corners of the internet matter at all when it comes to John Horst, the Bucks GM, and his decision making. And by the way, Bucks ownership, who will be involved in this trade. The idea of getting control of an entire draft, though, right? Like you're saying, I understand what you're saying because the draft is a crapshoot. I get it. That's why you want the most amount of bites at the apple possible.
is this the OKC model then?
Right. And that's what a market like Milwaukee kind of has to do. They drafted Giannis, right? Like this is what this market has to do is they're not getting free agents, right? At the very least, you have draft picks to use in trades in the future also, right? Like let's say Kuminga blossoms into a useful player for you. I think Star is probably out of the picture for him at this point, but blossoms into a useful player and whatever and all this stuff. Maybe you can use Kuminga and some of these draft picks to go make a move for another player. I don't know. But the problem that I have with this package is why are we just assuming that the Bucks want Jimmy Butler? Everybody's just sort of stopping with the analysis at, oh, the salary matches perfectly. Therefore, obviously the Bucks would want to have Jimmy Butler. If I'm the Bucks, I don't know that I want any part to do with Jimmy Butler. He just tore his ACL. He's 36 years old. He's under contract for next year. And everybody, well, it's expiring next year. Like they can move off of it. Not all expiring contracts are created equal, right? Like he's going to be owed $56 million plus next year. That's a lot of money to get off of expiring or not. That's
they owe
not
Dame
easy
Lillard
to trade.
that money. They owe him some money next year too.
Right. And so it's a great point, right? Because you already have the dead Damian Lillard money. If you're trying to do the Oklahoma City model where you say, hey, for a couple of years, we're just going to use our cap space to take on the money that you don't want in exchange for more draft picks. That becomes harder if you've already got the Damian Lillard dead money and $56 million owed to Jimmy Butler on your books. It's not easy. There's no salary cap relief at all with this Warriors thing. And if you're trying to move off of Jimmy Butler, you probably have to attach picks to him just to get off of him. Now, maybe they're willing to just to wait for a year, but that delays the whole process of the rebuild a little bit. And you're not getting the young players that you would be getting from the Miami Heat, for instance. So I think this Warriors package should be in the mix. It definitely is deserving to be in the running. And by the way, Giannis just saying, I want to play with Steph, definitely a possibility here. But I don't think that this is the slam dunk offer and sort of the offer to beat that some people are billing it to be at all. I actually kind of think Miami's offer is slightly better than this. But there's two other teams that we should talk about. Toronto is a team that's been mentioned a lot. Like Golden State, they have control of their draft. They can offer 4 firsts, all the swaps. Then they have like a poo-poo platter of like, oh, I kind of like that guy kind of players. Brandon Ingram, RJ Barrett, Jakob Poeltl, just like a bunch of guys. Emmanuel Quickly. We'll see. Michael Grange, who does an awesome job covering the Raptors up there in Toronto, as an insider plugged in with that team as possible. He basically said that he doesn't think that they would offer Scotty Barnes. If they were to offer Scotty Barnes, I think they might have the best package available, right? Potentially. Yeah. But it doesn't sound like they're willing to do that. And if they don't, I don't know that they're really in the mix here.
Yeah, no, I agree there. Yeah, that doesn't make as much sense. I mean, if you include Barnes, yeah, clearly that would be the best deal possible. And that would be something that Milwaukee would be interested. But going back to what, looking at what Miami's offer is, then I think, again, finding that right balance between young players and draft capital and also salary cap relief is important. Rozier's contract adds a salary cap portion of it. Young players in Kel'el and Tyler offer all-star and potential at the same time. So you're getting a double shot there of adding, some talent despite losing Giannis Antetokounmpo. The issue then for Miami, I think, would be increasing the draft capital aspect of it. And then that would make their offer, I think, significantly better than anything else. Like if they could throw in an additional pick or something along those lines, maybe even 2 additional picks.
Yep.
I think that would make up for that would surpass any other offer out there, I think.
So the other team that's out there is Minnesota, and I just want to kind of get them out of the way because it's worth mentioning here. They don't have any future firsts to move. They could move a swap in 2028. That's it. They have no future first round picks. So I don't understand why they keep getting mentioned. It's going to be very hard for them to actually get in on this. The only thing that they could do is maybe turn Jaden McDaniels and or Julius Randle into stuff that they could then use to trade for Giannis. That seems more of like an offseason type of thing. That's going to be really difficult to do over the next 8 days, basically. So I kind of just take Minnesota and I say I don't see it, and I'll put them over there for now. That unless we have to revisit this whole thing in the summer. To your point, David, I think you're right. Like, do the Heat move Andrew Wiggins, for instance,
Right.
and get another first round pick that is within the next couple of years here, so that Heat can either, if it's a 2027 pick, the Heat unlock the ability to trade 2026. Or maybe they just trade for a 2026 or a 2027 pick and then move that pick from the third party over to Milwaukee. So at least the Bucks can say, okay, we're going to be drafting somebody here. The Bucks, by the way, have their own pick in 2026, and it's probably going to be a pretty good pick. So it's part of a swap that's owed to Atlanta with New Orleans, but both New Orleans and Milwaukee are bad enough that pick's going to be good either way. Milwaukee gets the worst of those picks, so they're set up for a lottery pick here. So it's not like they need to have a 2026 pick, but they probably want something within the next couple of years out of a Giannis trade.
Yeah.
We have this report that the Heat, from Mark Stein, who's as reputable as it gets, that the Heat and Warriors have talked and will talk again about a Wiggins for Kuminga swap. And there has been some scuttle that if the Warriors can't get Giannis, they would still be interested in maybe helping facilitate a Giannis trade for two reasons. Number one, they get something out of it, presumably.
Right.
And number two, if facilitating if the Warriors come to the realization that they're not getting Giannis,
yes,
then I think their next priority is making sure that Giannis stays in the Eastern Conference.
I think that's exactly right. I think that's exactly the most likely path for Giannis to Miami is that Kuminga would wind up going then to Milwaukee. Miami sends Wiggins there, and then Miami
Wiggins
sends
to
whatever
Golden
else
State.
is necessary. Yeah, Wiggins, sorry, to Golden State, Kuminga to Milwaukee.
And whatever draft capital you get out of that from the Heat, you would reroute there then to Milwaukee.
Absolutely. That's the best deal I think possible. I think that's what Milwaukee, perhaps I sound presumptuous in assuming exactly what Horst would want, but yeah, that sounds like the best deal possible because then now you're adding whatever Miami's package is as we're currently discussing it, plus the Jonathan Kuminga factor. So you're just loading up with as much already NBA talent. It's not like you don't have to wait for the draft. You don't necessarily have to wonder whether or not your draft status is going to be any good. You've already added some talent in Kuminga, Tyler, Kel'el, et cetera. I think that sounds like a pretty solid deal for Milwaukee, to be honest with you. And I'm not saying that with any kind of bias towards Miami in the least. I think that's a clear path there to say, you know what, we're going to remain competitive. We're kind of rebuilding and retooling, but we're also adding the draft capital necessary to keep adding more and more young players to an already established core of young talent. So it makes a lot of sense. And then, from your perspective, as you said, Golden State would get Wiggins back, and to make up for the loss of Jimmy Butler, he's a guy that's familiar with the system. He would thrive there. It would be a win-win-win deal for everybody involved, I think.
Especially the Heat, who get Giannis out of it. But
Sure.
The other team that we should mention at least is the Knicks. There's no way that they could do it before the trade deadline, so I'm just going to mention it, but just because we're supposed to. I have looked at this so many different ways, and I've thought about this. And again, the feeling on the ground in Miami at the arena is split among would you take the Warriors offer or would you take the Heat offer? And every time anybody I talk to, it kind of boiled down to those two offers, the Warriors offer and the Heat offer. I don't think it's close. I think the Heat have a better offer, even without the Wiggins for Kuminga part, but especially with the Wiggins for Kuminga part, if that's a factor here. Yeah. I just think that you want the balance. I think you want the players that can help now. I think the idea of even trading for Tyler Hero right now, while his value is low, they could turn around and do what the Brooklyn Nets appear to be ready to do with Michael Porter Jr., right? They say, we'll let him kind of pad his stats for a little while. Have Tyler Hero's a good player. We can move him for real stuff probably a year from now. You get Kel'el Ware, who is a blue chip young player that a lot of teams are very high on. And who knows what else you get here? And all the salary cap relief that we're talking about. Like, to me, this is the one that hits all the notes. It checks all the boxes. Are you hitting home runs on every box? Are you just getting the Shai Gilgeous-Alexander back? No. Are you getting that awesome lottery top 5 pick? No, you're not. But you're getting a little bit of everything. And I think if you're John Horst, this GM, it gives you the cover to save face enough to keep your job. Which, if I'm the person making the decision here, the first job isn't to get the best trade package possible for Giannis. My first job is to keep my job. And I think this one might do it better than maybe the other ones are going to do it. So I look at this Heat offer. I think they have the best package. Maybe I'm being a homer about it. I just look at it, and I think they have the best package, and I think it makes a lot of sense. You know what? Don't take my word for it. You remember our friend Ty Windish, who we used to have on the show quite a bit during those Heat Bucks playoff battles?
Absolutely.
Does the Eurostep podcast over at Blue Wire. He ranked the Giannis suitors that were mentioned by Shams. He put the Knicks 4th, the Timberwolves 3rd, the Warriors 2nd, and the Heat 1st. And he says, I could see the Warriors or Heat involving a third team and selling off other parts, Wiggins or Kuminga, etc., to generate more stuff that maybe moves Milwaukee. I don't see it from the Knicks or Wolves in the season, starting from a spot of too little future assets. And he just goes on to say, like, you know, the Heat, they have the best balance. Ware, Jaquez, Jaquez, 2 firsts and 3 swaps is kind of what he's saying is the package, plus whatever salary you have to obviously include.
So run that by me again. What was the package that he assumes would?
He said Ware, Jaquez, Jaquez, the 2 first-round picks, and the 3 swaps. And then you would obviously need the Hero and Rozier salaries in there, probably.
Well, that's a lot, though. And that's significantly more than what we're talking about.
Sure. I mean, I said the starting point was Hero, Ware, and the draft picks. And then at that point, you're negotiating against the other stuff, whether you're including Jaime, whether you're including Jaquez. Like, that stuff could be in there. But that's what I'm saying is, like, the Heat, if they need to negotiate against these other teams, might have the means to beat those offers, because those are the kind of players that these other teams can't include.
Do you do that, though? Like, I mean, can Miami afford to include you? You include all those young players? Because I don't know. At that point in time, I saw something similar to that. Just I don't remember exactly where it was, but I didn't think that was realistic to include all that, like Jaquez and Ware. I mean, I know we're talking about a top 5 player, and maybe I'm just being
look, put Kaz over here. I like Kaz. But come on, like, put him over here. Like, that's not a thing. Like, that is going to break a deal apart. You would really say no to Giannis if they asked for Jaime. That to you is the deal breaker.
On top of everything else?
Right, yeah. I mean, we've already agreed you trade Hero and Ware and the first-round picks and the swaps, all that. You trade it. And then the Bucks come back and say, okay, you got a deal, but we need Jaime. You walk away from that if you're the Heat? As tough as it is, I don't think you do. Think about it. We got to go to break.
Yeah.
We'll come back on the other side.
Today's episode is brought to you by Rocket Money. Let's be real. Managing your finances can feel overwhelming. Between subscriptions you forgot about, bills that keep going up, and trying to figure out where all your money actually goes each month, it's easy to feel like you're losing control. And who has time to track every transaction or hunt down hidden fees? That's where Rocket Money comes in, the personal finance app that helps you take control. It finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions. It monitors your spending, and it helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. You'll be shocked when Rocket Money shows you exactly what you're paying for. It's probably, like most people today, there's a good chance that you're paying for subscriptions to a streaming service or something like that. You might not even realize it. It might be part of a package deal or some kind of bundle. Next thing you know, you're paying double what you should be. And that's where Rocket Money really comes in, because it tracks all of your spending, lets you know exactly where your money's being used for. And it might be for something that you don't need to pay for twice. And if that's the case, well, then you would want to be saving money thanks to Rocket Money, because it helps you take that money and then apply it towards something that you're actually looking to purchase, a big goal, whether it's a house or a college tuition or anything else, a major expense down the road. That's where Rocket Money comes in to help you plan and save for those big goals down the road. Let Rocket Money help you reach your financial goals faster. Join at rocketmoney.com/lockedon. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. rocketmoney.com/lockedon. We'll be right back.
Don't answer it, David. We got plenty of time to think about this. I don't want to put you on the spot, but these are the decisions, right? Like, these are the decisions that the Heat are going to have to figure out and make potentially here as they put together their best offer and start these negotiations with the Milwaukee Bucks. But we should talk a little bit about tonight's game. The Heat lose to the Orlando Magic. Final score 133-124. Weird up and down, back and forth game, but the Magic basically go on this run in the third quarter. that breaks the game open, and the Heat just it's too much to climb back from. Disappointing loss to a team that came into Miami having lost 4 in a row, but it was turnovers that did the Heat in. Very uncharacteristic turnovers. This is a Heat team that doesn't turn the ball over a ton. They had 18 turnovers that Orlando scored 24 points off of in this game. That resulted in 16 more field goal attempts for the Magic because of those turnovers. Both teams shot well for most of this game, but this is the kind of margin defeat that the Heat have been working to be on the other side of during this stretch where they've been playing pretty well. It was a weird game after a longish break here. The Heat dropped to 0-4 against the Magic this season. They can't beat this team, David.
Yeah, it's weird. Because they won almost everything. Like, they shot better, even though they wound up shooting less. They shot more free throws. They out rebounded this team. The assist number is pretty glaring there. Like, it's interesting to note that Orlando had 36 assists on their 52 made field goals, which is an astronomical number. They're 52 made field goals out of 104 attempts. They shot 50%, obviously, from the field. So Orlando, incredible offensive performance from them. So Miami's defense continues to be a struggle. And then, yes, as you pointed out, I think the turnovers led to a lot of offensive opportunities for a Magic team there, and they were able to capitalize to their credit. Miami didn't seem to have it completely entirely figured out. They looked a little sloppy, and you never want to put the blame necessarily on, oh, you're back in town or this is your first game at home, etc. But they did look a little atypically sloppy. But you know what? Maybe this is just, I would say that's a guarantee. I would say, look, as much as we might know about it, as much as we might hear things, nobody knows more that's what's going on typically than the players. And that's, we're talking about their livelihood, their lives in very many ways being impacted over the next few days. Like, they're going to be playing like walking on eggshells for the next few days. It's going to be a heavy feeling knowing that, look, I mean, think about that trade offer you just discussed. We're talking about half the roster all of a sudden saying, hey, thanks for your time here, but we're moving on now. So there's going to be a lot of empty locker spaces there in the next few days if a deal like that gets done. So they're stressed, undoubtedly. And we're talking about young players too. Like, I mean, Jaime with 4 turnovers. I think, maybe he's a little turnover prone, but not like this. I think that's something that's probably weighing on him. Kel'el Ware, certainly back in the lineup.
Kel'el Ware didn't play enough minutes to get too distracted. Really. He was actually good. Eric, he played 6 minutes and 40 seconds in this game. Eric Spoelstra was asked about it after the game. He said basically coming back from the injury, they didn't want to overload him. Okay, I thought Ware was really good when he's out there. He looked fine. I thought they could have still played him more minutes, but it is what it is. We said from the top, today's story isn't necessarily this game. Players do get distracted. This is a really tough time of year. When you talk to players around the league, this is a tough time. This time right now on the calendar, with days to go before the trade deadline. If you're one of these teams like the Miami Heat that are heavily involved in these trade rumors, the entire roster is affected by this. And the point you make about the guys, the young players potentially being involved in this is such a great one because they don't know this. They haven't gone through this, right? So they're not used to this kind of distraction and how to deal with it. But we'll see. I mean, the Heat, they get another chance to bounce back Thursday against the Chicago Bulls. Maybe this was like getting a quarterback getting hit in the first quarter where you just kind of needed to get smacked around a little bit to get your head back into the game. Hopefully that's the case for the Heat, and they can kind of bounce back with a win on Thursday night. But that'll do it for us today. Thanks for tuning into Locked On Heat. We'll talk more about Thursday night's game against the Chicago Bulls. After that game, make sure you subscribe, follow Locked On Heat so you get all of the latest updates.